Hey, I'm Pops, and a quick little news update for those of you who might be as interested as I am. I actually did a little video on Creature Commandos. It's part of the Gunverse, if you will, the new DC Gods and Monsters group of films and projects and TV shows and everything that they're putting together under the now Max logo, HBO Max, the WBD uh, version will now have the Creature Commandos. They announced their voice cast. Collider is shouting at the skies. They have the exclusive. I'm not sure they actually have the exclusive, but I'm going to give them some credit because that's what I saw. So um, the one thing I find interesting about this is that if you remember, they also had DC. James Gunn had said he was hoping that there would be a link between the voice actors and the on screen if there was as much. And we do see a little bit of that. For example, the feature voices the voice talents of Sean Gunn as Weasel, who did play Weasel, the CGI character that was similar in inspired very much by what they did with Rocket Raccoon in the Guardians films. Weasel, of course, was in the Suicide Squad and will likely not only show up here in the Creature Commandos, but if there is indeed a live action version of Creature Commandos in any way, shape, or form, it's not going to be a shock at all to see Sean Gunn doing that. Now, the other thing that's interesting here is Frank Grillo as Rick Flag Sr. Of course, Frank Grillo um, was really fantastic in other work that he's done. Obviously, I think that he came out of the Purge franchise. He did a great job over there. I think he, of course, had some great roles over in the Marvel universe as Brock Rumlow, who was Crossbones, kind of an antagonist for Captain America. So him being Rick Flag, it totally fits. He's a little bit older than I don't know, kind of has that look and that gristled feel and look. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to speak too much about the voice part because it's like what can they do? And by the way, I didn't really get to skip down a little bit. Animated series, Amanda Waller, Viola Davis. Yeah, okay, yeah, we knew that was happening. Okay, she's going to be the one that's going to be kind of fencing them in and monitoring them, that kind of thing. Okay, so Maria Bakalova is Princess Ilana Rostovich, and this is an area where I don't know much about her. I don't know much about Maria's work. I know she's credited with doing Guardians of the Galaxy work as Cosmo the Space Dog. I didn't know Cosmo the Space Dog had any lines per se, but I guess Sean Gunn did bring Weasel to life, so maybe there's some elements there that she does that could be interesting here. She's doing this role, Princess Ilana. Princess Ilana is not a character that I spent much time learning much about. I don't know too much about her role in the grand scheme of things. How much she'll play into the new creatures. Okay. Uh, Indira Varma as the bride. So that is actually the bride of Frankenstein. Indira Varma is it's just a beautiful lady. She's come over. She did work on a show called Rome, and she has had various roles and TV projects, things like that. She was even part of the Kenobi show. I think she played. I think her character's name was Tala. I'd have to look that up. I don't know that for sure. I don't think it's mentioned here in the article either. I'll have to get to it. Zoe Chow is Nina Mazursky. Nina Mazursky is again one of those characters I didn't spend a lot of time learning about, so I'll be playing a little bit of catch up with some of you guys. Nina is the creature from the Black Lagoon female version. A brilliant. She's like a scientist, and she's basically been altered because of a disease, and it was in her lungs, and they saved her and basically turned her into the creature and that sort of thing. So that will be her role in all of this. And then some great casting here. Anything you can do with Alan Tudyk. By the way, I did do the watch of Resident Alien through a recommendation with Left Eye Ego. And Alan Tudyk, of course, has done many projects that I've enjoyed very much. Obviously, he's the voice behind um, you know K2SO in the the Rogue One movie, which was probably one of the better things that he's ever done. Of course, most people will recognize him as Pirate Steve over in the Dodgeball film, but of course, most the fanboys and those of us that love it, we'll talk about his time back in the day on Firefly. being Wash. So great to see him over. Him being Dr. Phosphorus is great because he'll be bringing that to life. And David Harbour as Eric Frankenstein, I think it's very interesting. And I didn't think Frankenstein really had a ton of lines and dialogue in the comic books that I have read. So that'll be interesting. I enjoy seeing that. And Sean Gunn as well will also be doing work on GI Robot. So he's another major character I think that we're going to have and spend some time getting to know. That's this character back in the back next to Weasel. So Weasel and GI Robot are back there next to one another. Okay, so the animated series will feature the team works of supervision of Amanda Waller. It's a big part of the Suicide Squad spinoff series, The Peacemaker. Of course, there's going to be a Waller show as well. HBO also announced they're changing their name and dropping the HBO part, so it will just be called Max. So you guys start seeing that. That's what happened there. So let's see, jump down a little bit. The whole Creature Commandos cast has been revealed. We can't start wondering when these characters' live actions will appear next. Yes. So, for instance, it is exactly what I said earlier. Like their conversation was they would basically see a crossover between the live action and the animated. They would want actors and cast that could do both. That would be interested in doing both, which I think is very, very important for some of the continuity. It's a seven episode show focused on the unusual team of DC characters, which is basically like a monster Suicide Squad, and it fits into them calling it Gods and Monsters, which is all part of what they're doing. Then it talks a little bit about some of the other projects and that kind of thing. So that's pretty much it. I don't know that it is really going to be confirmed at this point that we have a whole lot of other details or anything like that, but I thought that was the latest. Thought I would share that with you. Look at your thoughts. I still think this is actually one of the more promising projects that they've done. There is a previous Creature Commandos thing that they have done on the animated side, so I'm going to try to make sure I get to that here actually relatively soon, so I can kind of have that as a better frame of reference and learn a little bit more about some of the characters. I remember reading some comic books and things like that. I actually ended up getting more like pieces of these stories through other crossovers. Obviously, Dr. Phosphorus, I think, started in the Batman title. So that was one that I was more familiar with than some of the others. And I was more familiar with some of the original, concept stuff with, werewolf, vampire, Frankenstein. We get the traditional stuff. Now it's expanded into a much more diverse and interesting and eclectic team. So that's my thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate you so much. I'm Pops.